Okay, let's unpack this stack of sources we have for today. Four quite different topics, but all pretty packed with insights, I think.
Absolutely. Where should we start?
Let's dive right in with the first one. It takes us into a really complex situation unfolding in India right now.
Ah, yes, the one concerning the academic arrest. This source focuses on Ashoka University professor Ali Khan Mahmoodabad.
Right, and the whole legal debate around his arrest and free speech limits in India.
The story kicks off with his arrest back on May 18th. This was related to some social media posts he made.
And it's worth noting he got interim bail from the Supreme Court just a few days later, May 21st.
Which is significant in itself, but importantly, the investigation into those posts is still very much active.
Exactly. And the source gets into the content of those posts. What did they actually say?
Well, according to the source, he was critical of Pakistan's military actions, but also commended India's strategic restraint during Operation Sindoor.
He called the civilian deaths tragic, urged de-escalation. That seems fairly straightforward.
It does. He also commented on India, including women officers in press briefings, seeing it as reflecting pluralism.
But then there was a twist, wasn't there?
Yes, he apparently added that it could be seen as hypocrisy if it wasn't matched by action on, domestic issues like bulldozing or mob lynching.
And he also condemned online abuse aimed at the foreign secretary.
Yes, and what he called blind bloodlust for war. And just to be crystal clear, we're purely reporting what the source states about the post content here.
Understood. So, based on these posts, what charges did he actually face? They sound serious.
They are filed under the new penal code, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or BNS, and they came from two separate police complaints, FIRs.
Okay, what was in the first FIR?
That one came from a BJP Yuva Morcha leader. It included Section 152, which is quite notable because it mirrors the old sedition law acts endangering sovereignty.
Wow, okay. Anything else?
Yes. Also, sections related to communal harmony, public tranquility, national integration, and outraging religious feelings. A whole range.
And the second FIR?
That was from the Haryana Women's Commission chairperson. It added charges like insulting the modesty of a woman and causing public mischief.
So, a university professor facing potential sedition-like charges, among others, for social media posts. What did the Supreme Court do beyond granting bail?
Well, the bench, Justices Kant and Singh, specifically said the interim bail was only to facilitate the investigation. It wasn't a comment on the merits yet.
And there was some back and forth in court.
Yes, his lawyer, Kapil Sibal, argued there was no criminal intent, that the posts were patriotic. But Justice Kant made an observation about a potential dual meaning in some phrases, at least prima facie.
On first glance, yeah.
Exactly. And that led to a key decision. They ordered a three-person special investigation team, an SIT, crucially composed of senior IPS officers from outside Haryana and Delhi.
Why outside?
Presumably to ensure impartiality in assessing the true meaning of the posts, given the local context of the complaints.
Which brings us right to the core legal question the source explores.
Oh.
Can speech just be penalized for being, quote-unquote, unpatriotic?
And constitutionally, the answer seems pretty clear. Free speech under Article 19A can be restricted, but only on very specific grounds listed in Article 19.2.
Only 8 narrow grounds, right? Like incitement, public disorder.
Precisely. Not vague things like hurting sentiments or lacking patriotism.
There are precedents for this, aren't there?
Definitely. The source brings up Shreyas Singhal v. Union of India from 2015. That case struck down Section 66A of the IT Act precisely because terms like insult were too vague.
And it protected even offensive speech if it didn't hit those Article 19.2 triggers.
Exactly. And Kaushal Kishore v. State of Uttar Pradesh in 2023 reinforced that those 19.2 grounds are exhaustive. You can't just add more.
The source quotes former Justice Gautam Patel, too.
Yes. His view was that these specific posts didn't seem inherently objectionable or to violate 19.2. And if there's ambiguity,
The reading should favor free speech. Lack of patriotism isn't a valid legal basis.
the source also points to a recent Supreme Court ruling, just from March, on these new BNS sections.
What'd that say?
It emphasized that you assess the impact of words based on a reasonable, strong-minded person, not someone easily offended, and that courts have a duty to zealously protect fundamental freedoms, even if speech is uncomfortable.
There's a catch, isn't there? A
Yeah.
practical concern.
Right. Alakrishna Kumar's observation, cited in the source, highlights the potential gap between legal precedent and actual judicial application sometimes. Concerns about bias or public sentiment influencing outcomes.
So why should you, the listener, care about this case?
Well, it really highlights this ongoing tension we see everywhere, especially online, between national security arguments, your right to express yourself, and how these legal lines around free speech get drawn and redrawn.
It's about that blurry line between criticism and, well, something potentially criminalized like sedition. Very important stuff.
Okay, let's completely shift gears now. Source number 2 takes us into the world of Google and AI.
Ah, yes, the Matryoshka doll strategy. I like that analogy.
Me too. It suggests this isn't just Google adding a few AI bells and whistles.
No, the source argues it's more fundamental.
Yeah.
Like they're rebuilding their entire tech stack around AI.
Exactly, from the core silicon right up to the apps you use, creating this interconnected kind of agentic experience.
The Sundar Pichai quote sums it up. More intelligence is available for everyone, everywhere.
And Satya Nadella's comment about Google learning new AI tricks feels relevant here too. It's a big shift.
So the innermost doll, the core, what's in there?
That's the foundational models, Gemini 2.5, Flash, and Pro.
Pro has this new enhanced reasoning mode, Deep Think.
Right. Uses parallel processing for complex stuff like math and coding. The source mentions a high score on a U.S. math competition benchmark.
Gives you a sense of its power. And Flash.
That's positioned as the efficient workhorse. Better, faster, uses fewer resources, and it's becoming the default in the Gemini app.
And both are getting better talking to us.
Yep, native audio output for more natural sound, plus a new multi-speaker text-to-speech function. 2 voices, 24 languages.
Okay, underneath all that software is the hardware, the engine room.
That's Google's 7th generation TPU, their custom AI chip called Ironwood.
And the key thing for users, it's way faster.
10 times the performance per watt over the previous one, the source says. That kind of power is essential for these bigger models.
But these models need feeding, right? Massive amounts of data.
Absolutely. Models like Imagen 4 for visuals or Lyria 2 for music rely on huge data sets.
Which brings us straight to the elephant in the room, copyright concerns.
Persistent industry-wide concerns, as the source puts it, using potentially copyrighted material for training without clear consent or payment.
Google has things like Synthide for watermarking.
They do. Synthide for watermarking, Synthide detector to check. They're mitigations, but the source is clear. They don't solve the fundamental legal and ethical questions about fair use, data provenance, and responsibility.
Complex stuff. Okay, moving out a layer in the doll, the platform layer.
This is about the tools for developers and businesses. The Gemini API, Vertex AI, allows others to build on Google's foundation.
They're adding things like thought summaries.
Yeah, to show how the AI reached a conclusion, and thinking budgets for cost control.
What's this model context protocol, MCP? Sounds important.
It could be. Think of it as a common language for different AI agents to talk to each other, share context, and collaborate on tasks.
So multiple AIs working together.
Potentially, yes. Very powerful. But the source also flags it introduces new data security challenges as information flows between systems. Project Mariner integration is also mentioned for task automation.
Okay, finally, the outermost layer, where we interact with it directly.
The user layer, this is where you'll see the changes most obviously.
Like AI mode. In search, rolling out in the US.
Right. Enhanced reasoning, searching across different types of media, powered by a custom Gemini 2.5. And this deep search feature that generates reports with citations.
Though, as the source notes, you'll need to check those citations carefully for quality and bias.
Definitely. Then there's the new shopping experience in AI mode, virtual try-on using your photos.
And agentic checkout, where it handles the purchase.
Initially in the US, yes. Super convenient, potentially. But think about the data access required. Personal photos, financial details.
Big privacy implications, data minimization, security, profiling.
Exactly. The Gemini app itself gets upgrades too. A live feature, image generation, video generation in the Ultra tier.
And this deep research function, using your private documents.
Yes, drawing on your own Google Docs, maybe images to help synthesize information. Hugely powerful, but the source stresses the need for rock-solid privacy safeguards, consent, and data separation.
What else is user-facing?
Canvas workspace improvements, Chrome browser integration for summarizing pages, and Jules, an AI coding assistant for developers.
And there's a new subscription tier, Google AI Ultra.
Yes, for access to the most advanced features, which raises a question the source brings up.
Will core privacy features be universal, or will some safeguards become part of a premium package, a privacy premium?
It's a valid question. So the big takeaway here for you is that this isn't just incremental change. Google is fundamentally restructuring itself around AI, fueled by data.
Understanding this Matryoshka structure helps see the potential power, but also the really significant questions about data, privacy, and IP that come with it.
Okay, third source. Let's switch gears again, this time to geography and a bit of a paradox.
Ah, the mystery of India's suddenly longer coastline. This got my eye.
It was quite the announcement, wasn't it? December 2024, the Ministry of Home Affairs says the coastline jumped from roughly 7,500 kilometers to almost 11,100 kilometers.
That's over 3,500 kilometers longer. Where did it come from?
Well, the source quickly rules out that obvious. India didn't suddenly conquer new territory.
Right. No major earthquakes reshaping the coast. No new states added since the last measurement.
Exactly. The last big measurement was way back in the 1970s.
So the real reason is geometry.
Essentially, yes. It boils down to something called the coastline paradox, and crucially, the scale of measurement used.
Okay, explain. The 1970s measurement.
Was based on really coarse maps. The source mentions a 1.4,500,000 resolution. At that scale, you just miss tons of detail.
Like small bays, river mouths, little islands.
Precisely. Estuaries, creeks, sandbars, tidal flats. Plus, many islands, especially in the Andaman and Nicobar chain and Lakshadweep, weren't fully mapped or included back then.
And the new measurement.
Done by the National Hydrographic Office and the Survey of India, using much, much finer electronic charts, 1.25 scale. Plus modern tech, GIS, satellite data, LiDAR, drones.
A completely different level of detail. And they'll update it regularly now.
Every 10 years, starting from 2024-25, they use specific methods to high water lines from 2011, defining how river mouths are measured, including islands exposed at low tide.
But how does better measurement lead to this paradox?
It's about the nature of irregular shapes. Coastlines aren't smooth lines, they're incredibly jagged, fractal-like. The length you measure depends entirely on the size of your ruler.
Like measuring with a yardstick versus a tiny measuring tape.
Exactly. A smaller ruler can follow more of the nooks and crannies, capturing more detail. More detail equals a longer measured length.
This isn't a new idea, is it?
No. Louis Fry Richardson pointed it out in the 1950s, and Benoit Mandelbrot really formalized it in the 60s, linking it to fractals.
His famous example was the coast of Britain, right?
Yes. How long is the coast of Britain? He showed the measured length varied hugely depending on the ruler size used. Could be 2,400 kilometers or over 3,400 kilometers.
Because the smaller ruler catches all the tiny inlets and bends.
Exactly. The source makes the point that, theoretically, if you used a ruler the size of a water molecule, the coastline length would approach infinity. It's fundamentally dependent on scale. That is the paradox.
Fascinating. But does this have real-world consequences, or is it just a cool math thing?
Oh, absolutely. Real-world consequences. Think about maritime security.
Or coastline to patrol.
Right. Disaster preparedness for coastal states facing cyclones and sea level rise, the baseline length matters.
Fishing rights, too. Defining economic zones.
Yes. It impacts climate models, coastal zoning rules, disaster response planning, and, of course,
updating all the geography textbooks.
That, too. The key takeaway, as the source puts it nicely, isn't that the land changed. It's that our eyes sharpened.
Our measurement tools got way better, revealing the true complexity that was always there.
It's a testament to scientific progress and better technology.
Okay, last source for today. We're heading south to Tamil Nadu.
That's right, looking at their new state space industrial policy, approved in April 2025.
This follows similar moves by other states like Karnataka and Gujarat, right? And fits with the national space policy.
Exactly. It shows states are actively trying to carve out a niche in the growing space sector. And Tamil Nadu has some serious advantages already.
Like the ISRO propulsion complex at Mahendragiri.
Yes, that's a major ISRO facility for testing engines and stages, plus R&D.
And crucially, the new spaceport being built at Kulasakarapattanam.
That's a huge strategic asset for India's overall launch capability, especially for smaller satellites going into polar orbits. It will really boost commercial launch opportunities, too.
Is there a private sector ecosystem there already?
There is. The source mentions various space startups working on advanced stuff, reusable vehicles, in space tech, data analysis.
Close to universities involved.
NIT Tiruchi hosts a regional space technology incubation center for ISRO, and there's a big existing vendor base, over 250 local companies already supplying ISRO.
And the state's development agency, TIDCO, is actively involved.
Yes, they have an MAU with OnSpace that's the central body promoting private space activities specifically to support local space companies in manufacturing services, R&D.
So the foundation is strong. What triggered this specific? It's not just about building rockets, though, is it? There's a governance angle.
Yes, a key goal is integrating space tech to improve public services, disaster management, agriculture, transport, health, using satellite data for better planning and delivery.
Are there specific incentives being offered to attract companies?
The source details a few. Things like a payroll subsidy for R&D centers.
Oh,
They plan to create designated space bays, like industrial parks, with tailored incentive packages for smaller investments.
housing incentives, too.
Yes, for developers building residential facilities near these parks. And a subsidy for green or sustainable initiatives within the space industry.
So why should you, listening in, care about a state-level space policy in Tamil Nadu?
Well, it's a really clear example of how high-tech sectors like space are becoming arenas for regional economic development. This could mean new jobs, local growth.
And potentially better public services where you live if that integration goal works out, using satellite data for things like weather or traffic.
Exactly. It shows how those big national space ambitions actually trickle down and translate into concrete action and opportunities at the state level.
A lot to think about across all 4 sources today. Thank you for listening. You can give suggestions by contacting on Twitter handle given in the episode description. We are always eager to hear what our listeners want to be informed about.